Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents You Dropped a Blonde on Me by Dakota Cassidy. Narrated by Hollie Jackson. Prologue. The first rule of the Ex-Princess Club? Suck it up. What a difference 1 year, 6 months, 8 hours, 4 minutes, 10 seconds, and total empowerment makes. Today is the anniversary and a half of the official end of my trophy wife days. Well, they didn't officially end that day, but it was the catalyst to a slew of things that helped make the end. It's when Suck It Up, Princess found a whole new meaning for me, and the defining moment when I decided it was high time I traded in my frilly girl panties for a set of steel clangers. And Jesus, it was butt ugly. I was in the Cluck Cluck Palace. Yeah, that's right. Fast food chicken ladies. And my mouth was moving a mile a millisecond while I applied, begged, the day manager for a job, accosted a teenager, and ran into someone who reminded me I hadn't always been candy for someone's sweet tooth. Ironically, 8 months prior to that day, I could have owned the Cluck Cluck Palace and everything in it. Okay, maybe I personally couldn't have, but my soon-to-be ex-husband, Finley Cambridge, and all his lovely money could. But on that particular day, I had zilch. No money, no job, and no hope for future employment because I'd been nothing more than someone's pretty toy for over 20 years. That is, until I wasn't so pretty anymore. My ass was sagging, and so were the girls, which, if you ask me, should be called anything but. If they were girls, they'd be team players and stay where they belong. And I was visiting my swanky salon a whole lot more for touch-ups than ever before. Anyway, it was on this day I realized I'd fallen and had forgotten to get the hell back up. There's nothing like humiliating clarity, stark and in your face, to spur you into action. Or to make you want to slink back to your dark, dank hole of depression. It's a choice. Oh, and Christ, did I ever slink for a while after I was downsized from my cushy position as mistress of all things arranged in glass vases and decorated in silk. I cried. I didn't shower. I know, don't judge. I wore gray sweats. If you knew me, you'd understand the true depth of my despair when I resorted to the color gray. I moped. I whined. I cursed men with my fist raised to the sky. I cursed the universe with 2 fists. I listened to crappy love songs and boozed it up. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep much either. I, in general, behaved like a real dumbass. And then, one day, I didn't slink or whine anymore. That wasn't going to pay the bills, or support my son, or give me a reason to get up in the morning. Because here's the thing. If you're anything remotely like me, you are where you are because you held the hand of your sugar daddy who skipped with you down the path of the totally sheltered, and you did nothing to stop it. He wasn't alone, friend, and you obviously weren't paying close enough attention to where that path was going because it left you high and dry. But I'm here to tell you, you can turn this mother fluffer around. I did. Though, a word of caution, gird your loins. Chapter 1. Note from Maxine Cambridge to all ex-trophy wives on the art of sucking it up and how not to get a job after never having been in the workplace to begin with. Sometimes, less really is more. While you, the unemployed, may find it therapeutic to spill your guts or even foolishly believe rambling your woes to your potential employer will create sympathy and help you nab that much-needed job, newsflash, girl. In your quest for gainful employment, shut up. A lot. Welcome to the Cluck Cluck Palace, where we speak beak. May I take your order? Leaning over the service counter, Maxine Cambridge kept her voice low. I need to see the manager, please. She gave a covert glance around the fast food restaurant's dining area, checking to see if anyone she knew was maybe having a secret liaison with a double cluck-cluck combo meal. As humiliating as it would be to be discovered here, it wouldn't be nearly as horrific as being caught eating in a batter-dipped nirvana, all up in a Cluck-Cluck Palace's triple chickenator's business. The all-natural juice bar? This was not. A worried frown formed on the young boy's forehead, as yet smooth and unwrinkled by life's little travesties. What did a kid like him know about worry? Worrying was filled with shameful events like digging for change in your mother's old Jennifer convertible sofa so your kid could have milk for breakfast, or selling every pricey designer outfit you owned to an upper-end thrift store for a shitty $20. Then walking away feeling like you'd just renegotiated the Geneva Conventions single-handedly and had come up a winner. Worrying was being forced to move back to your small hometown in New Jersey and seeing the people you'd known all your life look at you with pity. Worrying was eyeball-rolling dissertations on a division of assets, losing your sole form of transportation, i.e., your snazzy red sports car, and being beaten weekly with glee to a frothy frenzy by an opposing divorce attorney who loved nothing more than to watch you while your panties wadded as you sifted through so much paper a tree had surely lost its life for the endeavor. Worry was the pending end of your connubial bliss, a bliss you had no idea wouldn't always be connubial. How could this sweet young boy know the half of what worrying was all about? "Is there a problem?" he croaked, interrupting her favorite mental game of stare poverty in the face. Maxine shot him a reassuring smile and kept her response light, even though her intestines were tied up in knots and her head throbbed. "Oh, no problem. I filled out an application here a week ago, and I'm just doing a quick follow-up. You know, before I head to the pawn shop to see if they'll take my breast implants for cash." "You filled out an application?" he asked, his fresh, alert eyes scanning her from head to toe, taking in the only pair of designer shoes she hadn't sold to the thrift store. Yet. A deep breath later, she said with a smile, "Yep. So can I see the manager?" "To work here? Why?" Apparently, incredulous was the name of the game today. "Well, yeah, because there's nothing I want more than to wear that red gingham-checked apron and a hat with a big yellow beak. I probably don't want to breathe as much as I want to wear that outfit. It's a longing I can't quite describe." The look he gave her was blank. Astonished, too, but mostly blank. "I'll see if Mr. Herrera's in." "Thanks." She looked at his name tag. "Carlo? I'll wait over by the condiments." Ducking out of the short line, Maxine backed away from the counter to give herself a good view of the private offices through the kitchen. Mr. Herrera wasn't getting away today. Not if she had to tie him down with the strings of his gingham apron and make him hire her. By all that was minimum wage, come the time when she left this fast food joint of batter-dipped sin and fried iniquity, she'd have a job, and she'd wear the ridiculous uniform, hat and all, with pride, because she needed the money. Needed. From the corner of her eye, Maxine caught Mr. Herrera, day manager of the Cluck-Cluck Palace in small-town Riverbend, New Jersey, exit 98 off the Garden State Parkway, attempting to escape via the rear door. Silly man. He'd never be quick enough for her and her desperation, not even with her in 3-inch stilettos. The clack of her frantic heels resonated on the tiled floor when she made a break through the lunch crowd to head him off at the pass. She caught him just as he was about to push his way out the door and into the humid heat of the day by placing a non-confrontational hand on his bicep. "Mr. Herrera, I'm so disappointed. All I want to do is make nice with you so you'll hire me, and you run away at every opportunity like I've sprouted extra limbs in another head. Why is that?" He winced, toying with his gingham-checked necktie. "Because you've been in here every day for the last week. And if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000,000 times. Your application has to be processed through headquarters." Maxine gave him a glossy-lipped pout. That used to work on almost everyone who had testosterone and walked upright. Or it had. Okay, so it wasn't the glossy-lipped pout of 20, but these lips, the 40-year-old ones, still totally untouched by Botox, were in damn fine shape for their age. Thus, she willed her wiles to bedazzle her prey. "Oh, come on. You know that's not true. Gabriella over there filled out an application on the same day I did. I know she did because she liked my bracelet and I told her if she had some cold hard cash, any cash, I'd fork it over free and clear. All this while she was in the process of filling out the same application I did. You hired her. Now look, she's a chicken frying engineer and I still haven't been called for an interview." He grunted with a grimace. "So did she have to go through the same process as I do, or am I being discriminated against because I'm 40 and you don't think I'd be willing to work the hours these poor kids do for minimum wage?" She played the 40 card extra loud, making several heads in the dining area turn. "Because you'd be wrong. Way wrong." He blustered, frowning so that his bushy eyebrows scrunched together. "That's not it at all, Mrs. Cambridge." Max fought for a centered calm. Her hysteria would only incite anxiousness that, in turn, would evoke rambling sentences she couldn't control once she got wound up. "Then what is it? Look, I'm willing to work any hours you'll give me. I'm willing to do all the dirty work you need done. I'll scrub toilets, sinks, refill ketchup bottles, shred lettuce." "Our lettuce comes already shredded." "How helpful." "Whatever. The point is, I'm all in. Just give me a chance," she begged, her hand suddenly around his arm. Before she knew it, what was originally planned as a subtle, dignified nudge for employment became a hostage situation, if the way she was gripping his arm with firm fingers was any indication. Desperation had its blatant nuances. "Please." Rolling his shoulders in discomfort, he pulled away from her grip and eyed her grimly. "I can't help you. We don't have a position available right now." He stood his ground, for which she'd show admiration by way of a polite golf clap if it wasn't for the fact that she and Connor would end up drinking her mother's tilled dry very shortly if she didn't find some kind of steady paycheck. One deep cleansing breath later, Max's eyes searched his behind his oval frames. She could do this, whatever it took. "Please. Look, I'm begging you, okay? I need a job. I'm sure you hear 100 sob stories a day with the economy in the shitty state it's in, but I'm not kidding when I tell you I just need one person to give me a chance. Just a little break. I know I'm not 16 anymore, and if I needed reminding, I'd just have to ask the 100 other places like this where I've applied to tell me so. I get it. I know I have no experience in fast food. Believe me, I know. I have no experience in selling condoms either, but you can bet I'd do it if it meant I could earn $1 hawking rib ticklers. Well, that is, if the manager at Condoms on the Go-Go would have let me. But he said I had no experience in condoms. I say, huh? What does he know? I know condoms. I've used them plenty in my time. But that's beside the point. So tell me something, because you seem like a guy who's in the know. How the flip can I get some of this experience if no one will hire me?" Her voice had risen, pitchy and anxious, and her hand was right back at desperation, clinging to poor deer-in-the-headlights Mr. Herrera. There was a long pause before he spoke. Clearly, he sought to measure his response to her impassioned request. "Mrs. Cambridge, can I ask you something? I mean, if it's not too personal." She automatically licked her lips. "You want to know if my lips are real, don't you?" Everybody did, and she'd answer if it meant a job. He cleared his throat, giving a stern shake of his head, looking anywhere but at her mouth. "Oh, no. I would never. I'm just curious about why someone like you needs a job here. Aren't you the lady who used to do the commercials for Cambridge automobiles? You know, put your seat
"In something sweet," Maxine finished.
Her face flushed 100 shades of deep red. Yeah, that was me. And now it wasn't. Because she wasn't 25 anymore, and her husband didn't want her anymore, and she'd been traded in. And you drive a fancy car, and you wear fancy clothes. It was always like this when she showed up in Connor's car or someone recognized her. Max plucked at her white suit jacket. I'm dressed like this because I just left my lawyer's office, which, FYI, was a complete waste of gas money I didn't have and the car's my kids'. I borrowed it from him so I could go see my 1-800-dial divorce lawyer for him to tell me I'm defining broke in a whole new way, then swing by here so you could tell me you won't hire me. My son's car's one of the few things my soon-to-be ex didn't take from us, but don't hold your breath for me, because I'm sure he'll want that back too. She finished by clamping her mouth shut. Truly, it was the only way to stop the train wreck her big mouth had become. Yet for a mere moment, Maxine found the sympathy she'd hoped to tap into written on his chubby, moon-shaped face. He was waffling. Perfect. Ah, messy divorce. Messy had levels. Her divorce was at level DEFCON. You're understating it. That's very kind. I don't want to get too personal and scare you off by divulging too much so you'll only end up uncomfortable, but here's where I'm at. You in? If she could just make one person understand how close she was to welfare by telling them how she'd been bamboozled, then pride could go F itself. Mr. Herrera nodded his reluctant consent. Do I have a choice? Not if you hope to leave here unscarred. Maxine clutched his arm again, pushing her back into the glass exit door for leverage. He scanned the top of the dining area over the top of her head and rasped a sigh. Then, of course, do divulge. So she did. Okay, so, in a nutshell, this is the skinny, and I'm telling you this because I want you to really understand why I harass you every day. It's a lot. Sure you're up to it? His feet shuffled. Damn, she'd given him an out. Shaking her head, Maxine leaned in and said, Forget I asked. Just listen. I am going through a divorce. It's been hell. No, it's worse than hell. It's hell times 8 gotrillion. I was married to a very wealthy man who's redefined the phrase ironclad prenuptial. I had no idea anything was wrong with my marriage until I found out, quite by accident, and by some jackass's mistake in the society pages, that I was soon going to be anything but Mrs. Finley Cambridge. She paused. Okay, that's not 100% true. There were indiscretions, but I thought we were back on track. Wait, maybe I did have a suspicion or two. Make that 10, but that wasn't really clear until I had some distance in hindsight. Oh, if I could only tell you the kind of hindsight I've been blessed with. Maxine paused again, sucking in some chicken fried air and clenching her jaw so she wouldn't burst out into big fat tears. Anyway, I have no money. None. Nothing. I know you're probably thinking, nothing? Yeah, sure. A major player like Finley Cambridge left his wife of 20 years with nothing. Come on, you must have something, like a severance package for time served. Hush money, maybe? That's exactly what you're thinking, right? Mr. Herrera winced his agreement with a slow nod. Maxine clucked her tongue. Yeah, that's what everyone thinks. But I swear to you, Mr. Herrera, I have squat. When I found out about my husband's wandering wanker, I left. I just didn't know I'd left. Everything. I also didn't know when I left that I'd never see my house, my car, my personal Pilates instructor again. Forever. Those ridiculous luxuries aside, I thought we'd get a normal divorce. The one where you and your kid have a place to live and food on the table because your pending ex is rich and owns half of New York, New Jersey, and parts of Connecticut. So he has cash to spare, and even if it meant downsizing our lifestyle and me going back to school to get a decent job because I'm no slacker, I still believed he'd do the right thing. I was, according to my dial-a lawyer, delusional. If you were me, wouldn't you have made the same crazy assumption? Mr. Herrera's brow furrowed. Assumptions can be troublesome. She flapped a hand at him. If you only knew the half of it. So, since this nightmare began 8 months, 4 days, and 36 hours ago, I've been trying to get on my feet. I've applied for 42 and a half jobs. I say half because I'll do almost anything to earn a living, but there'll be no mechanically separating chickens for this girl. I left that interview halfway through it in defense of chickens everywhere. I've been turned down for every single position I've applied for in the town of Riverbend, which, if you're wondering, doesn't have a whole lot in the way of industry. So here I am, penniless, jobless, prideless. And that's why I come in here every day, Mr. Herrera, because I need a job. I need just one person to give me a chance. Kids come and go in these places when a taste for a change and a position at Hot Topic comes along. I can promise you that's not me. I'm reliable, honest, and hardworking. I'll work whatever hours you have. I'll work the graveyard shift. There were 2 positions available last week. Gabriella got 1. That means 1's still up for grabs. I just need you to please reconsider hiring me. Please. The manager's face changed, and her rising anxiety gave way to the tiniest bit of hope, if she could just get her foot in the door. But hope, much like her dye job, was fleeting. A loud bang on the door behind her made them both jump, thus freeing Mr. Herrera from her WrestleMania-like grip. Maxine gasped when she caught a familiar face pressed against the glass door with a head that wore the prized Cluck Cluck Palace's beak hat. "You hired him? He's who got my job, isn't he?" she accused, her eyes flashing in the manager's direction. Be it frustration, exhaustion, or maybe utter and complete loss of all rationale, her nut officially flipped. It had been a long time coming, filled with endless hours of poring over the want ads, being rejected time after time for jobs even her own kid wouldn't apply for. The sheer terror she felt each and every time she realized that she and Connor had far less than a pot to piss in. The anxiety-riddled nights spent sleeping upright in her mother's armchair while she hatched and rehatched ways to find work. The moments of startling clarity when she was constantly walloped over the head with her stupidity and the fact that she was nothing more than a dried-up ex-beauty queen who'd gone almost directly from high school and the Miss Riverbend Auto and Glass pageant to marriage and a man who was 20 years older than her. For sure, she was long overdue for a breakdown. That it was a beaked hat and a gingham-checked apron that sent her into the abyss would surely be cause for some major regret. Later, Maxine gripped the door's handle and stuck her tongue out at Philip, the other kid who'd filled out an application with her and Gabriella, daring him to fight his way into the store she should be working in. Philip yanked back, his freckled face confused and red from the cloying heat. "Mrs. Cambridge, you can't keep a customer from entering the store. If you don't leave, I'm going to have to call the authorities," Mr. Herrera whisper-yelled, trying to pry her fingers from the handle. Oh, no, brother. No way was this kid, this child who needed a job like he needed an eye lift, getting her job. God damn it, he didn't need a job. But by all that was holy, she did. Mental flashes of her and Connor staple-gunning boxes together on the side of the road to create living space sent her panic into four-wheel drive. Gritting her teeth, Max flapped one hand at Mr. Herrera and flattened herself against the door. "He's not a customer. He's an employee who has my job." Swatting at his large hands, Maxine clung to the handle while Philip yanked harder. She dug her heels in, wild-eyed and panting. "No!" But as a tag team, Mr. Herrera and Philip were a force she couldn't reckon with. The door buckled, ripping from her sweaty fingers as Philip gave one last tug, rocketing her out onto the manicured grass by the sidewalk and him right where he wanted to be. Inside the Cluck Cluck Palace. Her nylons caught on a neatly trimmed boxwood hedge tearing a long line from her ankle to her thigh. Both Philip and Mr. Herrera burst out behind her, grunting and panting. The humidity was thick, clinging to her stupid suit and plastering her silk shirt to her clammy skin. The blazing sun beat down on top of her head, leaving her dizzy and almost breathless. Almost. She wasn't done. Not yet. "You!" She pointed a shaking finger at Philip. "You stole my job and my damned hat! You Cluck Cluck Palace—" Max Henderson. The air from her seething bubble of anger deflated with a metaphorical hiss. She'd been made. Oh, Jesus. Please, 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 God, if you're good and gracious enough to forgive my complete lack of socially acceptable behavior, when I turn around, don't let it be an associate of Finley's. Or worse, a parent of one of Connor's classmates. But hold on. Maybe there was salvation. No one from her once elite lifestyle called her Max. Maxine swung around and squinted into the glare of the mid-afternoon sun. She cocked her head in the direction of a tall man wearing low-slung jeans and an exceptionally white t-shirt. Campbell Barker. Remember? We graduated together. Class of 1987. She teetered on her heels, gathering her purse tight to her chest as he moved closer. Campbell. She couldn't recall a Campbell. Mr. Herrera tapped her on the shoulder. I think I'm going to have to ask you to leave the Cluck Cluck Palace's premises now, Mrs. Cambridge. And please do us all a favor. Stay away, or I'll be forced to call the authorities after today. The irony of him asking a Cambridge to leave the premises might have had her in a fit of slap-happy giggles, if not for the fact that a hunky man in sun-washed jeans that molded to hard thighs was in front of her. Campbell's tall, bulky frame covered the distance between them in 2 strides, and he looked to Mr. Herrera and that little suck-up Philip with a question in his blue eyes. Everything okay? Catching sight of him up close, Maxine swooned a little. Not only was he blessedly blocking the sun from frying her eyeballs, but the scent of his freshly laundered t-shirt invaded her nostrils, so comforting and clean it brought hot tears to her tired eyes. His eyes, deep blue and thickly fringed with short lashes, were laced with concern and caught hers. Max, is everything all right? Weary from battle, Maxine finally found her voice. It's fine. I'm sorry, Mr. Herrera, for my behavior. And she was, but not so contrite that she didn't have a little fight left in her, especially considering the fact that she was leaving yet another fast food restaurant sans employment. But I'm telling you, you'll regret hiring him. She narrowed her eyes in the skinny, undeserving Philip's direction. And not me. Now, Mrs. Cambridge. But Campbell cut him off with a raised eyebrow. Are you telling me he wouldn't hire you? You, Max Henderson, prom queen, voted most popular and head cheerleader of the Riverbend Rams. Well, when he put it like that. But she got the playful irony in his husky tone and decided to go along. Giving Campbell her best sad face, she nodded. Yeah, I'm too old for the Cluck Cluck Palace. I said nothing of the sort. Mr. Herrera's face, dotted with sweat, puffed out in indignation. No, that's true, Maxine defended him. Not in so many words, but it was implied when you hired him and not me. Campbell rolled his tongue along the inside of his cheek, casting Mr. Herrera a disappointed expression. The lines on either side of his full mouth deepening when he pursed his lips. Wow, that sucks. I was so up for a Cluck Cluck chicken patty melt with curly fries, too. Love those fries. But seeing as you discriminate against the elderly here, I think I'll take my business to, say, the beef barn. Come on, Max. There's the cattle combo with my name on it. Bet they'd hire an old lady like you there. He nodded to Mr. Herrera and Philip. You two have a good day, you senior citizen haters. She couldn't help it. Her head fell back on her shoulders with a long snort of laughter as she let Campbell lead her down the stretch of sidewalk toward the parking lot and away from, by far, the most humiliating display of disgruntled, still unemployed ex-trophy wife ever. With his hand at the small of her back, he paused when they were out of Mr. Herrera's sight. This time, when he looked down at her, his deep blue eyes held amusement. You don't remember me, do you? Not even a little. Maxine wiped her wispy bangs out of her face, now stuck to her forehead with perspiration. Of course I do. His chuckle was resonant and deep. Nah, you have no clue who I am. But if it helps at all, I was the one who kept you from setting yourself on fire in chemistry with Mr. McGillicuddy. We were lab partners for a semester our senior year. Her eyes opened wide. Shut up. This was that Campbell Barker? Tall and lanky, with an Adam's apple so pronounced you would have sworn he'd swallowed a golf ball, Campbell Barker? He grinned, showing a flash of white teeth that sported neither braces nor the once huge gap in the front of his...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?